Good morning and welcome to Daily Briefing. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sarah. August 15th, 2026.
Quick check of the weather here in Parker. 57 degrees Fahrenheit and clear skies right now, heading up to a high of 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Low tonight, 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Today we are tracking a major double earthquake event in Indonesia, new details on a massive proposed payment sector buyout, and Apple issuing security alerts across 110 countries.
Plus, Prime Minister Modi's address from the Red Fort. Let's get into it.
All right, turning to global news. We start in Indonesia, where a powerful 6.8 magnitude earthquake has struck northern Sumatra. And this came just hours after a massive 7.7 magnitude tremor hit the exact same region.
That kind of rapid double hit is devastating. When you have a 7.7 followed so quickly by a 6.8, the secondary quake hit structures that were already severely compromised.
Right, and it raises immediate, urgent concerns for both human lives and critical infrastructure across northern Sumatra. Disaster response teams are trying to assess the full scope of the damage right now.
And in terms of humanitarian aid, getting resources into a region hit by back-to-back major quakes is extremely difficult. Roads and communication lines are almost certainly disrupted.
Absolutely critical situation that we will keep monitoring throughout the day. Meanwhile, over in the Indo-Pacific, the United States Space Force has completed a bilateral deployment with Japan.
They hosted a second space surveillance sensor aboard Japan's QZS-7 navigation satellite, right?
Exactly. This finishes out the joint program. The idea here is to significantly boost space domain awareness and military space tracking capabilities for both nations in the Indo-Pacific.
It shows how tightly coupled U.S. and Japanese defense coordination has become, especially when it comes to monitoring assets in orbit over the region.
Moving over to the Middle East, we have a very serious development in the Strait of Hormuz. United Arab Emirates officials report that Iranian forces launched unprovoked attacks against commercial oil tankers.
The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most vital energy corridors in the entire world. Any unprovoked attack on commercial shipping there immediately sends shockwaves through global oil markets.
It really does. UAE officials warned that these aggressive actions escalate the risk of direct military confrontation and threaten to severely disrupt international trade.
And that regional friction carries right into southern Lebanon. Reports indicate Israel is currently awaiting official approval from the United States before launching a military operation.
They are aiming to seize a strategic ridge located in southern Lebanon. But the report emphasizes that Israeli leaders are holding off until they get explicit authorization from Washington.
That underscores just how decisive U.S. diplomatic backing remains when it comes to dictating Israeli military escalations in the area.
It really puts the diplomatic leverage of the U.S. on full display. Coming up, we shift our focus to India's major national milestone and key policy announcements.
Let's talk about India, where national celebrations were held for the 80th Independence Day, broadcast live from the iconic Red Fort.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the event, which commemorated 80 years of freedom while also marking the 150th anniversary of the national song, Vande Mataram.
During his address, Prime Minister Modi outlined the Saptara Development Roadmap and introduced several key initiatives focused on youth engagement and security issues.
He specifically targeted Gen Z outreach and discussed tackling Damaji Naxal concerns, establishing crucial policy directions for national governance moving forward.
And looking ahead, he urged all citizens to work collectively toward transforming India into a fully developed nation by the year 2047.
A massive milestone with ambitious long-term goals. When we come back, we take a look at big moves in finance, from crypto regulation to potential mega-mergers. Let's talk markets. We start with major political and regulatory developments out of Washington. President Donald Trump is expected to attend an upcoming White House summit featuring top industry executives.
And these are leaders coming from the crypto, prediction market, and artificial intelligence sectors, correct?
Yes, Having the president meet directly with leaders across those specific industries signals potential regulatory shifts favoring digital assets and emerging technologies.
And we are already seeing concrete regulatory movement on the federal level. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency just granted preliminary conditional approval for a federal bank charter.
That charter goes to World Liberty Trust Company, an entity backed by Trump.
What does that conditional bank charter actually allow them to do?
It gives World Liberty Trust Company federal oversight to move forward with issuing digital financial assets under explicit regulatory guidelines.
So, it is a direct step toward integrating digital assets into the regulated banking framework. Meanwhile, traditional institutions overseas are making similar moves. Israel's largest bank, Bank Leumi, just announced a partnership with Galaxy.
That partnership will allow Bank Leumi's retail banking customers to trade crypto directly through their standard investment app by early 2027.
Users will be able to buy, hold, and sell major cryptocurrencies without ever leaving their primary banking platform. That is a massive integration step for retail adoption in Israel.
It really is. But while traditional banks move forward, Wall Street ran into a temporary bump today. Shares of crypto-focused companies like Coinbase and Circle both slipped.
Why this sudden dip?
The Securities and Exchange Commission delayed a planned innovation exemption for tokenized securities. That regulatory pause put a sudden speed bump in efforts to integrate blockchain-based asset tokenization into traditional financial markets.
So the market responded instantly to that regulatory delay. Now, speaking of giant market valuations, let's look at the tech finance side. Reuters reported exclusive details on Anthropic's prospective initial public offering.
Sources say Anthropic's IPO valuation hinges entirely on reaching an annual revenue forecast of $190 billion to $200 billion by 2028.
$190 to $200 billion in annual revenue within 2 years? That is an extraordinary financial target.
It shows the massive financial expectations Wall Street is placing on premier AI developers right now. Whether they can scale fast enough to meet those numbers is going to be the multi-billion-dollar question.
Absolutely. And in another potentially massive deal, payment processor Stripe and private equity firm Advent are in advanced negotiations to acquire PayPal.
If this buyout actually goes through, it would rank as one of the largest corporate buyouts in fintech history.
It would completely reshape the landscape of global digital payments. Combining Stripe's infrastructure with PayPal's massive consumer reach would create an absolute giant.
We will certainly be watching those negotiations closely. Coming up, we have critical security alerts from Apple and new data on the state of OpenAI models. On the tech side, Apple has issued urgent security notifications warning users across 110 countries that they may be targeted by mercenary spyware.
110 countries is a vast reach. Apple noted these are sophisticated, highly targeted attacks, typically associated with state-sponsored surveillance software.
Right? It serves as a stark reminder that advanced mercenary spyware remains a persistent global threat for civil society, journalists, and government officials worldwide.
Meanwhile, in the developer space, Hugging Face published its summer 2026 State of Open Models report. The numbers are huge, but the distribution is surprisingly concentrated.
The public model repositories on the Hugging Face Hub grew to nearly 3 million, alongside massive growth in open datasets and spaces.
But here's the catch. Just 1.5% of those repositories account for over 99% of all total downloads.
That is an incredible imbalance. Millions of models are being uploaded, but user traffic is almost entirely concentrated on a tiny fraction of top-tier repositories.
That is a classic power law distribution in action. Switching to cybersecurity, the Scottish government is investigating a potentially widening data breach at its prosecutor's office. Authorities are trying to assess the full scope of exposed data right now because a breach at a public prosecutor's office risks compromising sensitive judicial records and public safety information.
Exactly. legal proceedings and active cases could be significantly impacted depending on what was taken. Now, here is a fascinating story from the legal tech world. A litigant actually injected hidden prompt injection instructions into legal court filings.
Wait, hidden prompt injection inside court papers? Why?
The man suspected that the court was using artificial intelligence to review and process legal filings. So he hid system instructions inside the text, hoping to manipulate the AI into granting him a favorable ruling.
That is wild. It highlights a brand new threat vector as institutional workflows start integrating AI language models. If an AI ingests a legal document containing malicious instructions, it can completely bypass intended controls.
It definitely presents a unique challenge for court administration software. Meanwhile, Google is working on keeping cloud AI processing completely private using advanced cryptography.
They released technical details on applying fully homomorphic encryption to enable privacy-preserving AI inference.
What homomorphic encryption does is allow cloud-based AI systems to process user data while the data remains completely encrypted in system memory. The cloud server processes the query without ever seeing the raw text.
That could finally make truly private cloud AI practical for enterprise users handling sensitive data. And finally, in tech, if you use ad blockers, Firefox is now officially the last major web browser to maintain full support for the uBlock Origin extension.
This comes right after Chrome completed its rollout of Manifest v3, which restricted how ad blockers operate. Mozilla's choice to retain full support turns user privacy and control into a major market differentiator for Firefox.
Privacy-focused users are definitely paying attention to that distinction. And over on the science front, NASA's COFFIES team has developed artificial intelligence models to predict storm-causing active regions on the sun.
Improving solar weather forecasting is vital. Solar storms can knock out satellites in orbit, damage terrestrial power grids, and pose serious radiation risks to future human space exploration missions.
Using AI to spot active solar regions early gives operators critical lead time to protect our space and ground infrastructure. Coming up, we close out with sports news and the latest Marvel trailer release. Turning to entertainment, Marvel Studios just dropped the brand new trailer for Avengers: Doomsday.
And this trailer gives us our first real look at Robert Downey Jr. portraying Dr. Doom.
The trailer pits Dr. Doom against Mr. Fantastic, the X-Men, and the Avengers, complete with an entire army of Sentinels.
It marks a massive turning point for Marvel's Phase 6 strategy, bringing together iconic franchises for a massive crossover event.
Moving over to sports, we have tragic news from the professional cycling world. British cyclist Finlay Tarling has passed away following a severe crash during the Tour of Portugal. He was just 19 years old.
That is heartbreaking. The death of such a young talent at 19 has sparked widespread grief across the entire cycling community.
It is also prompting renewed discussions and tough questions regarding race safety protocols and rider protection on dangerous tour courses.
Over in basketball, the WNBA saw a thrilling matchup between top draft picks as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever defeated Paige Bueckers and the Dallas Wings.
Clark brought her best performance to lead Indiana over Dallas, showcasing an incredible competitive rivalry between the league's newest stars.
That matchup drew huge attention and proves just how much talent is driving the league forward right now.
Finally, in the NFL, the league has issued an 8-game suspension to Atlanta Falcons defensive lineman James Pierce Jr. following his arrest in a domestic dispute.
That 8-game suspension severely impacts the Atlanta Falcons' defensive line rotation for the entire first half of the upcoming regular season.
A major disciplinary stance from the league that forces Atlanta to make quick adjustments to their roster depth.
From severe seismic activity in Sumatra to major technological and regulatory shifts across digital assets and AI, today reminds us how quickly global systems are moving.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.